Jiang Wanji. Why are you clinging to that spot? It's rightfully mine. A sharp scream pounded against my eardrums. I opened my eyes abruptly, my vision gradually focusing from blurry. What came into view was a narrow attic, the air thick with the musty smell of years of decay, and before me stood the young, arrogant face, now twisted with jealousy and hatred, my sister-in-law, Jiang Wanlu. I looked down at my hands. They were rough, with redness and swelling from washing clothes. I was reborn, back to the summer of 1974, the day before the final list of educated youth going to the countryside was confirmed. In my past life, Jiang Wanlu disliked the hard work in the rural Jiangnan region and cried out that she wanted to go to the northwest to temper her will. In reality, she was attracted by the empty promises made by the children of a military compound there. As for me, filled with trepidation about the future, I took my transfer order to the water towns of Jiangnan and settled down in a small town called Qingpu. No one could have imagined that the village where I was sent to work in the countryside would later produce a nationally renowned textile tycoon. Because of my diligence and eagerness to learn, he took notice of me and made me his last apprentice. After returning to the city, I rode the wave of the times and became a female entrepreneur with a net worth of over 100 million yuan. Jiang Wanlu endured hardship in the northwest, eventually marrying a violent alcoholic and ending up scavenging for garbage on the streets in her later years. Before she died, she held my hand, her eyes filled with venom. Jiang Wanji, if I had gone south back then, I would be the chairwoman now. It seems she has been reborn as well. You want to go to Jiangnan? I concealed the coldness in my eyes, my voice flat and devoid of emotion. Yes. Someone like you, born to toil, should go to the northwest and eat sand. Jiang Wanlu puffed out her chest, clutching the application form that hadn't been submitted yet. I've already talked to Dad, and he agreed to the change. He said you're the older sister, so you have to give way to me. The door was pushed open. My stepmother, Zhou Qin, walked in carrying a bowl of cold noodles, a fake smile on her face, but her eyes were full of favoritism towards her biological daughter. Wanji. Wanlu is weak and can't stand the wind and sand in the north. The climate in Jiangnan is mild and the work is easier. You've been healthy since you were little. You can survive anywhere. So let's give the spot to her. My biological father, Jiang Jianqi, followed behind, holding a pipe in his hand, saying nothing, tacitly agreeing to this negotiation that was almost a robbery. I sneered inwardly. They only saw Jiangnan as a picturesque landscape, unaware that the farm work during the double harvest season in the Jiangnan production teams at this time of year could leave one skinned and exhausted. But more importantly, they had no idea that the Jiang family's old house was right next to the brigade I was going to, and that buried beneath it were things only my grandfather had told me before he died. I can change my spot. I pretended to hesitate, my brows furrowed, and my fingers twisting the hem of my clothes tightly, showing great reluctance and struggle. But Dad, that place has been assigned. If I want to change it, I have to go to Director Wu of the neighborhood committee to lobby. That will cost a lot of money, and we'll have to use our old radio as a gift. Jiang Jianqi slammed his pipe down, clearly feeling the pinch. Jiang Wanlu was afraid I wouldn't exchange it, so she jumped up and down anxiously. Dad, that radio was already broken. It can still be repaired and used. It's perfect to give it to Director Wu. As long as I can go to the south, I'll buy you a new one every day when I become rich. All right. Stop arguing. Jiang Jianqi exhaled a smoke ring and looked at me. Wanji, since you've agreed, it's settled. Go to the street office tomorrow and sign a document saying you volunteered to go to the northwest. I can sign. I looked up, my eyes filled with a desperate determination. But I have one condition. I have to take the old mahogany furniture that my mother left me and the dowry with me. Zhou Qin's eyes darted around. Although the mahogany furniture was valuable, in those days it was considered a sign of old ideas, old culture, old customs, and would only be a nuisance if kept at home. She had wanted to get rid of it for a long time. Oh dear, that thing is heavy and clumsy. Wouldn't you be suffering if you took it to the northwest? Zhou Qin asked tentatively. That's the only thing I can think of when I miss my mother. My voice choked for a moment. My acting was very convincing. If they don't let me take her, I won't sign the papers. Fine. Fine. You can take it. Jiang Wanlu waved her hand impatiently. As long as you get out of here to the northwest, you can take all that broken wood from the house with you. She hadn't realized that she was giving up more than just a transfer order. She was also giving up the true foundation of the Jiang family. And what she stole was merely the fleeting good fortune I had fought so hard for in my past life. That night, I closed the attic door and pulled a yellowed report from under my pillow. It was left by my grandfather, with an inconspicuous circle drawn on it. Jiangnan, Wusong, Qingpu. There was no overwhelming wealth he had envisioned there, only arduous labor. But for me, there were 3 chests of gold bars that could change my life forever, and a secret buried by time. The next morning, I went to the subdistrict office with Jiang Jianxi. Director Wu looked at our application for a change of assignment, frowned and asked me, "Comrade Jiang Wanji, are you sure you want to give up your spot in Jiangnan and apply to go to the Northwest Construction Corps where conditions are harsh? This is no joke. Once it's decided, it can't be changed." Jiang Wanlu held her breath nervously beside me, staring intently at me. I took a deep breath, as if I had made a huge decision, signed my name on the application form, and pressed my red handprint firmly. I am sure that I am willing to go to a tough place to train myself. The moment I stepped out of the neighborhood office, the sunlight was so bright that I could barely open my eyes. Jiang Wanlu, like a victorious peacock, held the transfer order to Jiangnan, grinning from ear to ear. "Sister, you'd better not regret this," she whispered mockingly in my ear, her eyes gleaming with an almost manic sense of victory. I looked at her and gave her a subtle yet incredibly sincere smile. "I don't regret it, Wanlu. I hope you'll be just as happy over there. After all, it's better for me to do the hard work of digging for gold bars myself." The moment the stamp from the Educated Youth Office fell, Jiang Wanlu almost wanted to kiss the entire transfer order. She thought she had snatched a ladder to heaven. Little did she know it was a one-way ticket to the mire. "Sis, you'd better pack your things quickly. It's very windy in the northwest, and your old clothes probably won't keep you warm." Jiang Wanlu swayed her hips as she walked into the attic, fiddling with the new Dacron shirt Zhou Qin had bought for her, her tone full of undisguised condescension. I was squatting on the ground, using thick hemp rope to tie up the old mahogany table and dressing case left by my grandfather. The wood was heavy, and it made my palms red. Without looking up, I replied, "Don't bother. As long as Dad gives me the settlement allowance he promised, I can live." Jiang Jianqi coughed at the door and handed over a stack of loose banknotes and receipts. Somewhat guiltily, "Wanji, this is 50 yuan, plus a few industrial coupons and grain coupons. Life is tough in the northwest, so be careful with your money." Jiang Jianqi really shrewdly bought me a spot in Jiangnan for 50 yuan. In my past life, he secretly gave Jiang Wanlu a full 200 yuan to send her to the northwest to find that high-ranking official's son. Now that it's my turn, the money has shrunk by 3/4. But I didn't make a fuss, or even show the slightest dissatisfaction. I took the money, counted it very quickly, and then stuffed it into my inner pocket right in front of them. "Thank you, Dad. The train leaves early tomorrow morning, so I'll move the furniture to the shipping office right away." "Are you really going to take all this junk with you?" Zhou Qin leaned against the doorframe, his eyes full of disdain. "The transport costs aren't cheap. Do you think your 50 yuan will be enough to cover all that? These are my mother's things. I'm going to take them with me even if I have to eat dry rations all the way." I stubbornly bit my lower lip, my eyes fixed on the furniture, like a down-on-her-luck young lady guarding her bankrupt possessions. Seeing my stubbornness, Zhou Qin snorted disdainfully and pulled Jiang Wanlu away. The mother and daughter were busy preparing for their trip to Jiangnan and had no patience to watch me fiddling with these heavy, rotten pieces of wood. I slowly let out a breath after they left. These pieces of furniture do indeed hold a secret, but not gold bars. Hidden in a compartment of the rosewood table are the original property deeds to my grandfather's old house in Jiangnan, and a donation certificate that he dared not submit due to the turbulent times. These are the only proof that I will legally inherit that old house and legally possess the excavation rights to that land. As for the 3 boxes of gold bars, They lie quietly deep in the old well in Zhao family village, Qingpu town, waiting for me to awaken them. The next morning, the train station was bustling with activity. Jiang Wanlu, dressed in brand new polyester and tied with a red ribbon, was surrounded by Jiang Jianqi and Zhou Qin, looking like a proud little princess. Meanwhile, I stood alone at the end of the line, pushing a heavy cart piled high with wooden crates. Wanji, remember to write when you get there. Jiang Jianqi rarely showed a hint of tenderness, but that was all. Sister, Jiangnan is beautiful. The scenery is familiar. I'll enjoy it for you over there. Jiang Wanlu leaned closer to me and proudly boasted in a voice only the two of us could hear. Looking at his ambitious face, I felt calm. Wanlu, it rains a lot in Jiangnan and the roads are slippery. You have to watch your step and don't fall. The train whistled, billowing black smoke. Jiang Wanlu boarded the train heading south, while I stopped at the ticket gate where I should have been heading north. I pulled another train ticket from my pocket. After signing the papers and leaving the neighborhood office yesterday, I didn't rest. I took the 50 yuan Jiang Jianqi gave me and went straight to the railway bureau to find Uncle Zhang, my old neighbor from back then, because he had received a favor from my mother in my younger days. He helped me with a mistaken exchange. In those days, household registration and transfer orders followed the personnel files. But the rules for controlling the flow of people were actually at their most chaotic at this moment. I used the quota for going to the Northwest Construction Corps as a pretext to complete all the shipping procedures. But the destination was changed at a small station halfway there. The place I want to go is still Jiangnan. It wasn't the prosperous brigade that Jiang Wanlu went to, but Zhao family village, which was designated as remote, backward, and prone to flooding. 2 hours later, I boarded a branch line train bound for Kunshan. The scenery outside the window gradually changed from the gray northern plains to the verdant hills of southern China. The humidity increased, and the air began to carry a sweet scent of grass and trees. I sat in the hard seat, clutching the briefing my grandfather had left me tightly in my hand. Inside the dressing case was a hidden compartment, and inside that compartment was a rusty key. 3 days later, I set foot on the land of Qingpu. It was even more dilapidated than I had imagined. The continuous rain had made the dirt road muddy and slippery, and my cloth shoes were quickly covered with a thick layer of mud. But I didn't feel tired at all. The village chief of Zhao family village was an old man surnamed Zhao, whose surnames were diverse and whose clan mentality was extremely strong. When I found him with the commune's letter of introduction, he was squatting on the edge of a field smoking a pipe, a sent-down youth from Shanghai. How did you end up here? Village Chief Zhao sized me up, then looked at the heavy boxes of wood behind me. Young lady, we don't have any good land here. It's all paddy fields. It's so tiring that you'll die. Uncle Zhao, I'm not afraid of being tired. My ancestors came from here. I'm just going back home. I lowered my stance, took out a pack of Dakianman cigarettes from my pocket, and stuffed them into his hand. Village Chief Zhao's eyes lit up, and his attitude immediately softened considerably. It's good to come back to your hometown. It's good to come back to your hometown. Since you're coming back, you can stay in your old house. Although half of the house has collapsed, the foundation is still there, and no one in the village dares to occupy it. That's exactly what I was thinking. Thank you, sir. I pushed my cart, following the villagers' directions, through a narrow alley, and finally stopped in front of a large, overgrown mansion. The vermilion paint on the door had peeled away so much that the original color was no longer visible, and moss grew among the broken walls and ruins. This is the Jiang family compound built by my great-grandfather, and it is also the last secret garden on this land. As night fell, the village lights went out one by one. Instead of rushing inside to rest, I found the shovel I had prepared before leaving and, following the directions I remembered, walked step by step toward the long dried-up well in the backyard. The wellhead was weighed down by several large blue stones, covered with thick vines. I gritted my teeth and used leverage to pry open the stones, releasing a cold, damp smell. I climbed down the ladder, my heart pounding in my chest as if it were about to leap out of my throat. In my past life, when I was working here, I heard from the village elders that before the Jiang family fell from power, 3 horse-drawn carriages entered the house at night, but came out empty. My hand trembled as I pressed down hard on the third protruding brick on the well wall. With a click, a rusty iron ring was revealed. I took a deep breath, grabbed the iron ring with both hands, and pulled with all my might. A hidden door at the bottom of the well, covered in the dust of history, slowly opened before me. The air at the bottom of the well was thin and cold, carrying a pungent smell of metal and earth. I held up my flashlight, the beam of light flickering in the narrow, confined space. It's not a hallucination. 3 large camphor wood chests, sealed tightly with raw lacquer, were arranged in a triangular shape on the stone platform. The copper strips binding the chests had turned black, but the heavy, oppressive feeling they exuded, even across decades, still made my breath catch in my throat. I knelt on the ground, used the small knife I carried to scrape off the sealant, and then inserted the rusty key hidden in the dressing case into the lock of the first box. Click! The sound of the spring snapping open was deafening in the deathly silence of the well bottom. I lifted the cover, and the light from the flashlight shone on it, instantly reflecting a dazzling orange-yellow hue. It's a gold bar, neatly arranged, like stacked firewood. Each stick bears the stamp of a gold shop from the Republic of China era. The other 2 boxes contained a large quantity of silver dollars in one box and various land deeds, and several extremely eye-catching pieces of jade jewelry tightly wrapped in oiled paper in the other. My heart was pounding, and my palms were sweating profusely. In my past life, when I listened to the village elders gossiping, I always thought they were delusions born of poverty. Only now, as these cold, metallic objects truly prick my fingertips, do I realize the Jiang family's heritage has never disappeared. It has simply been waiting for a sufficiently patient master. I didn't succumb to elation. Instead, I quickly regained my composure. These things are a curse, not a blessing right now. I quickly grabbed a few pieces of silver and 2 bundles of land deeds and stuffed them into my pocket, then locked the chest again and covered them with the dry grass and old burlap sacks I had prepared nearby. I climbed out of the dry well, put the bluestone slab back in place, and even carefully sprinkled some loose soil and withered leaves on it to make it look like it blended into the desolate landscape around it. At this moment, in another commune dozens of kilometers away, Jiang Wanlu was standing beside a muddy pigsty, holding a moldy broom, looking incredulously at the sweaty, dark-skinned man in front of her. That was the wealthy husband she had dreamed of in her past life, Xin Yueming. In his past life, he was incredibly successful after returning to the city, but now he's just a down-on-his-luck educated youth who was sent here to shovel manure because his family was implicated. Are you the new comrade Jiang Wanlu? Xin Yueming wiped the sweat from his forehead, his eyes darting over the fair face before he chuckled. All right. Since you're here, you get half of today's pig feed. We don't support idlers here. The production team leader said that whoever doesn't work doesn't get to eat. Jiang Wanlu screamed and took 3 steps back. You! How could you be doing this kind of work? Shouldn't you be? What? You think it's dirty? If you think it's dirty, go back to the city. Are you out of your mind? Coming here to fight for a spot? You rich girl from the big city. Xin Yueming frowned, his tone unfriendly. Jiang Wanlu felt as if she had fallen into an ice cave at that moment. She had seized this place and this person, but she had miscalculated the timing. She only remembered Xin Yueming's glory after returning to the city, but forgot that in this special era, he still had to endure 3 years of hard labor and suppression. Having been pampered for 18 years, she simply couldn't endure this hardship. I returned to my old house in Zhao family village and nailed the windows shut overnight with the wooden planks I had brought back. The next morning, I knocked on the door of village chief Zhao's house. Uncle Zhao, I've thought it through. Now that I'm back in the countryside, I have to act like I'm going to work. I quietly slipped 2 heavy silver dollars into his wide sleeve, my voice low. These were found in the ancestral home. I'm scared living alone, so I'd like to ask you for a favor. Could you send me a reliable person to fix the leaky roofs of those rooms? Also, I'd like to start a vegetable garden in the backyard and fill in that dry well so no one falls in. Village Chief Zhao's previously tense face instantly broke into a wide smile as his fingertips touched the cool, smooth texture of the silver coin. Oh, Comrade Jiang, You're such a sensible child. He calmly pocketed the silver coin, his eyes now showing more sincerity. Filling in the well is a good thing. As for repairing the house, I'll have my eldest and second eldest sons go over and make sure it's sturdy enough for you. By the way, I'll go to the commune today to take care of your household registration. In an era of scarcity, $2 could buy more than just house repairs. They also secured the village chief's political protection and the approval of one of their own. For the next 2 weeks, I worked harder than anyone else. I followed the village women to the fields to plant rice seedlings, my back aching as if it were about to break. But I never complained. At night, I closed the door and cooked white rice porridge over a simple stove. I've already secretly sorted out those land deeds. One of them is for the very plot of land where I currently live, and its boundaries even extend to a small grove of woods behind the mountain. According to current policies, this is ancestral property, although it can't be bought or sold. As the sole heir of the Jiang family, as long as my household registration is here, I can live here legitimately, and no one can drive me away. I'm waiting for an opportunity to cash out my gold bars without getting myself into trouble. And this opportunity soon came knocking at their door. That day I went to town to mail a letter and stopped by the state-run restaurant next to the black market to exchange it for some cooked food. At the entrance of a dark alley, I bumped into a man. He was wearing a faded old military uniform, his eyes sharp as an eagle's, and he was surrounded by several thugs. Beside him was a burlap sack, from which a faint scent of medicinal herbs wafted. I recognized him at a glance. That was Lu Zhang, who later ruled half of Southeast China and even gained international recognition in the business world. Now, he was still a down-on-his-luck man risking his life to sell wild medicinal herbs in order to pay for his grandmother's medical treatment. 5 points. Not a single point less. Lu Zhang's voice was as cold as ice, and even when facing a large number of thugs, his back remained straight. Lu Zhang, don't push your luck. Without our approval, you won't be able to sell a single one of these medicinal herbs in Qingpu town. The leader of the thugs brandished a dagger in his hand. I stood in the corner, clutching a gold bar in my hand, one of the ones I'd brought out from the bottom of the well. In the hands of ordinary people in this era, such things were scrap metal. But to someone like Lu Zhang, with special connections, they were life-saving assets. I didn't back down. Instead, I straightened my collar and walked out confidently. Brothers, in business, harmony brings wealth. I'll take these medicinal herbs from him. All eyes immediately turned to me. This seemingly weak urban-educated youth. A flicker of surprise crossed Lu Zhang's eyes, which quickly turned into a deeper scrutiny. He looked at me as if I were a madman, or perhaps a savior. I know that the first piece of my wealth empire is about to be put into place. The thugs were stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. What do you, a little girl, need these bitter medicinal roots for? To boil them in water and wash your feet. The scarred man leading the group walked over, tilting his head, and gave me a malicious look. Besides, what are you going to use to buy it? Do you even have any money? I didn't look at him. I just stared at Lu Zhang. His deep eyes revealed an extremely restrained calmness, as if he was assessing whether I was playing him. I pulled a crumpled wad of small bills from my pocket, the rest of the 50 yuan Jiang Jianqi had given me. I patted the money in my hand, my voice soft but full of confidence. I have the money, and I'm determined to do this deal. Gentlemen, if you want a commission, here's 5 yuan for you to have some tea. Please do me a favor. In an era when the average monthly salary was only 30 or 40 yuan, 5 yuan for tea money was not a small amount. Scarface took the money suspiciously, then looked at Lu Zhang's posture, which seemed ready to fight at any moment, and spat. Fine. You know what's good for you, Lu Zhang. You're lucky to have met such a rich and foolish woman. After the thugs left, only Lu Zhang and I, along with that bag of bitter-smelling medicinal herbs, remained in the alley. You're not after the medicinal herbs. Lu Zhang bent down and picked up the sack, his voice low and deep, carrying a sense of world weariness beyond his years. Tell me, what do you want? I need you to take me to someone who can handle big stuff. I looked directly into his eyes, the gold bar in my palm, warmed by my body heat, was slightly hot. You need money to save your grandmother's life, and I need a way to turn inanimate objects into cash. Lu Zhang's pupils suddenly contracted. He stared intently at me for a long while before whispering, "Come with me." He led me through the crisscrossing alleyways of Qingpu town, finally into a nearly collapsed mud brick house. The house was filled with the strong smell of herbs, and a thin, old woman lay on the kong, a heated brick bed, breathing weakly. Without saying a word, I took out the gold bar wrapped in an old handkerchief from my pocket and placed it on the dilapidated immortal table. "This is a deposit." My tone was as calm as if I were talking about cabbage. "As long as you can help me gradually convert the rest of the items into cash, not only will your grandmother's medical expenses be covered, but I can also give you a 20% commission." Lu Zhang didn't touch the gold. He just gave me a deep look. "Aren't you afraid I'll take it and run away? Or turn around and report you?" "You won't." I looked at him firmly. "Lu Zhang, you're the kind of person who's arrogant to the core. If you report me, you won't get this incredible wealth. If you follow me, you can keep your grandmother alive and turn your life around." I won this high-stakes gamble. Lu Zhang remained silent for a long time before finally reaching out and tightly grasping the gold bar. At this time, Jiang Wanlu's life was in complete chaos. She originally thought that by snatching Xin Yueming as her wealthy husband, she could be pampered by the Xin family like she had been in her previous life, simply by showing him a little kindness. But she forgot that the Xin family was currently in a period of hardship, and what they disliked most was being ostentatious and spoiled. "Wanlu, this braised pork was bought with the meat coupons my mother painstakingly saved up. She said it was to nourish people who do manual labor." Xin Yueming frowned, watching Jiang Wanlu take the last piece of meat from the table. His face was a little ugly. "You only picked half a basket of cotton at the drying yard today, which is less than what my mother did." "Xin Yueming, what do you mean? I came to this remote and impoverished place because of you." Jiang Wanlu slammed down her chopsticks, her eyes reddening. "If I had stayed in the city, I would be a sales clerk at the supply and marketing cooperative by now." Xin's mother chimed in sarcastically. "Oh, that must be a real injustice to Miss Jiang. Since things are so much better in the city, why did you insist on changing the list? I heard that your sister, Jiang Wanji, was originally supposed to go to a better production team, but you insisted on coming here." Jiang Wanlu trembled with anger. She dared not reveal the secret of her rebirth and could only swallow her resentment. She couldn't understand why the Xin family had been so kind and gentle to me in her previous life, but were so sarcastic and mean to her. She didn't know that in her past life, I would go up the mountain before dawn to dig for wild vegetables and sew under the lamp late into the night so that the Xin family mother and son could have a hot meal. I earned respect with my life, but she only wanted to enjoy the fruits of others' labor, and naturally, all she received was disdain. A month later, Lu Zhang returned to Zhao family village. He brought back not only large stacks of cash, but also various scarce industrial vouchers, watch coupons, and even a brand new Forever brand bicycle. "Everything's taken care of. This is your share." Lu Zhang handed me a heavy cloth bag, a hint of awe in his eyes. "As for the rest, I plan to sell them off in batches once things have calmed down." I took the cloth bag, pulled out a few 10 yuan bills, and handed them to him. "Thank you for your hard work. This is what you deserve. Also, I'd like to ask you to keep an eye out for me. Is it possible to lease out that abandoned silk reeling factory in town?" Lu Zhang was stunned, contracting. "There's no precedent for that yet. It will be here soon." I smiled and looked out the window into the distance. I know that the spring that will change my destiny is not far away. With that money, I used my connections with village chief Zhao to buy a lot of nice things in the village. I bought myself a thick quilt, replaced all the kitchen utensils, and even built a hidden little cellar in the yard. The villagers all say that although the Jiang family's daughter has gone to the countryside, she still has a good family background and lives a more comfortable life than people in the city. When the news reached Jiang Wanlu's ears, she was squatting in the kitchen eating a cornbread that was as hard as a rock because she had been docked her food rations for not earning enough work points. Jiang Wanji made a fortune in Zhao family village. That's impossible. Jiang Wanlu suddenly stood up, her eyes bloodshot with jealousy. That place is clearly a poor, desolate place. How come she's doing better than me? She threw away the cornbread, made an excuse to go to town to buy something, stole 2 yuan that Shin's mother had hidden under her pillow, and hurried back to Zhao's village covered in mud. When she stood at the gate of the Jiang family's old house and saw me wearing a well-tailored shirt and pushing a brand new bicycle, ready to leave, her jealousy almost burned away her reason. Jiang Wanji, where did you get the money to buy these things? She rushed up and tried to grab my collar, but I easily dodged her. Looking at her pale, thin face and hands covered in chilblains, I felt a surge of satisfaction. I had the mahogany furniture left over from home shipped over. I found some old things that my grandfather had hidden inside and exchanged them for some pocket money. My tone was calm, even tinged with pity. Wanlu, why do you look so pale? Are the Shin family treating you badly? Stop pretending. Jiang Wanlu shrieked. I had a share of those things too. You bitch. You lied to me. You were the one who wanted the transfer order changed. And you forced Dad to sign it. I straddled my bicycle, looking down at her. Wanlu, you chose this path, and you have to finish it, even if you have to crawl. I pedaled lightly, and the gust of wind I created lifted the hem of her tattered clothes. Behind me, I heard her shrill and resentful curses. Jiang Wanlu's commotion at the old house entrance startled many villagers. The eldest daughter-in-law of village chief Zhao happened to be passing by carrying buckets of manure. Seeing this, she frowned and shouted, "Where did this crazy woman come from? Coming to our Zhao family village to bring bad luck." I stopped my bicycle, put one foot on the ground, and looked at Jiang Wanlu calmly. Wanlu, we're sisters after all. It's one thing for you to have a bad reputation in the commune, but don't come here and ruin my peace. This bicycle and these clothes were bought by selling the old furniture that my grandfather left me. If you're envious, go back to the city and ask Dad for them. You're talking nonsense. How much are those few pieces of broken wood worth? Jiang Wanlu pointed at me, her eyes almost popping out of their sockets. Dad said that the furniture is just a bit old and not worth anything at all. Jiang Wanji, you must have been doing something shady here. Enough. Village Chief Zhao walked over unnoticed, a pipe in his hand, his face grim. Xiao Jiang is the most hardworking girl in our village. She can handle everything from planting rice seedlings to weeding. Unlike you, covered in mud, all you do is make things up. If you keep causing trouble, I'll take you to the commune's security office and charge you with hooliganism. Jiang Wanlu shrank back, intimidated by the village chief's imposing presence. In those days, the brigade secretary and the village chief were like local tyrants. If she were arrested and forced to write a self-criticism, her reputation would be completely ruined. She glared at me hatefully, then turned and stumbled back home. I ignored her retreating figure and turned to village chief Zhao with a smile. Uncle, please excuse my behavior. She's spoiled at home and doesn't know her place. It's all right. Xiao Jiang, you go about your business. The way village chief Zhao looked at me carried the magnanimity of an elder, of course. Half of that magnanimity was due to the silver dollars and the cigarettes Lu Zhang had given me. Back inside, I closed the door. Lu Zhang was sitting in the shadows, skillfully peeling a hard-boiled egg. She's your sister. Lu Zhang's voice was low and tinged with sarcasm. Her cunning is written all over her face. She'll never amount to anything. She wants what you have. But unfortunately, she doesn't even know what it looks like. I sat down at the table and pulled out a stack of drawings from my cloth bag. Lu Zhang, these are my drawings of the improved silk reeling machine. Although the factory in town is abandoned, the old machines inside can double the quality of the silk produced by simply replacing a few bearings and modifying the power unit. Lu Zhang put down the eggs, took the blueprints, and his expression gradually became serious. Although he hadn't read many books, his years of traveling all over the country selling medicinal herbs had given him a wealth of experience, and he could tell the value of this thing at a glance. Jiang Wanji, who exactly are you? He suddenly looked up, his gaze piercing. An educated youth from the city who knows about treasure hunting, medicinal herbs, and now even textile machinery. I just want to live better than others. I looked back at him calmly. Lu Zhang, the situation is changing. Smart people are waiting for the right opportunity. I'll provide the money and technology, and you provide the connections and channels. If this factory is established, we will be the first batch of households in Qingpu town to earn 10,000 yuan a month. Lu Zhang remained silent for a long time before finally uttering a single word. Do it. For the next 2 months, I became a very busy person in Zhao village and the town. During the day, I still went to work on time, bending over to plant rice seedlings in the paddy fields, maintaining the image of a dutiful educated youth. At night, I avoided everyone's sight and sneaked into the old warehouse in town that Lu Zhang had rented, where I worked through the night with a few down-on-their-luck craftsmen he had recruited to modify machines. I converted the gold bars one by one into valuable assets, which were then used to purchase expensive imported bearings, sturdy conveyor belts, and baskets of raw silk. Jiang Wanlu's life has completely sunk into a quagmire of despair. Life became increasingly difficult for the Shin family. Shin's mother had to stop taking her medication due to illness, and Xin Yueming worked tirelessly every day at the quarry, breaking stones to earn the meager medical expenses. Jiang Wanlu, let alone wearing polyester clothing, didn't even have a decent patched garment, and had to endure Shin's mother's curses and Xin Yueming's emotional abuse daily. Didn't you say you were a lucky star? Xin Yueming came back from work, looked at the thin porridge in the pot, and slapped Jiang Wanlu across the face. You were so eager to come here, but I can't even get a decent meal. Look at your sister. She's almost building a new house in Zhao family village. Jiang Wanlu covered her face and sat on the doorstep, wailing loudly. She couldn't understand it. She clearly had all the signposts that I had taken in my past life. So why was the destination completely different? Just as she was struggling in pain, news arrived that was enough to break her last straw. Jiang Jianqi was coming to visit his family. Jiang Jianqi, accompanied by Zhou Qin and carrying 2 boxes of pastries, first went to the production team where Jiang Wanlu was located. When they saw their once delicate daughter transformed into a disheveled, calloused woman, who had even been publicly humiliated by her mother-in-law for stealing half a steamed bun, Zhou Qin fainted on the spot. Wanlu, what happened to you? Zhou Qin cried as she hugged her daughter after waking up. Mom, save me. Jiang Wanji lied to me. She has gold. She has money. Jiang Wanlu screamed like a madwoman, as if she had grasped at a straw. Jiang Jianqi frowned as he listened. He didn't believe his eldest daughter could have any gold. But seeing his youngest daughter living such a miserable life pained him. He decided to go to Zhao family village to see what kind of life his silent eldest daughter was really living. They arrived at Zhao family village at dusk. I was riding my bicycle, with 2 pounds of fresh pork belly and several plump grass carp hanging on the back. The setting sun cast a soft halo around my neat floral shirt. Jiang Jianqi and Zhou Qin stood at the entrance of my newly renovated ancestral home, stunned. The mahogany furniture in the courtyard was polished to a shine, and a brand new radio was playing Suzhou storytelling in the main room. Dad, Aunt Zhou, what brings you here? I stopped the car, my smile gentle, my tone polite yet distant. Jiang Jianqi looked at the bicycle, then at my flushed face, his voice trembling. Wanji, where did you get this money? I got it by selling furniture. I pointed to the small mahogany tables in the room that I hadn't had time to get rid of yet, things left by my grandfather. Although they're not worth much these days, there are always people who appreciate their value. Plus, I'm the production team's scorekeeper here, so life is still better than in the Northwest. You're talking nonsense. Jiang Wanlu screamed as she rushed in from behind. You must have hidden gold. Jiang Wanji, hand over the gold. It belongs to the Jiang family. I turned my head and looked at her coldly. Wanlu, you need to provide evidence for your words. You say I have gold. Where is the evidence? If you don't blame me for punishing you in front of Dad for damaging your elder sister's reputation. Before Jiang Wanlu could speak, Lu Zhang walked out from the backyard, carrying a heavy wrench. His cold face and imposing aura made Jiang Jianqi subconsciously take a step back. Who are you? Jiang Jianqi asked warily. I'm a technician at the town's textile factory, currently helping them improve equipment. I'm an expert specially hired by the commune. Lu Zhang walked up to me, his tone calm yet carrying an undeniable air of authority. What? Are you here to cause trouble? Jiang Jian's jaw nearly dropped to the floor. When did his eldest daughter, who only knew how to go to the countryside and was used as a bargaining chip to secure his stepsister's future, become the town's expert? Jiang Jianqi dropped his pipe and remained stunned for a long time. In his eyes, Jiang Wanji had always been a quiet, hardworking, and unassuming woman, but the woman before him, protected by a tall man and with a calm expression, exuded an air of nobility that he couldn't quite fathom. An expert, her, Zhou Qin screamed, his jealousy even stronger than Jiang Wanlu's. Wanji, tell mom and dad the truth. Have you gone astray? What's going on with all this stuff? And this man? I ignored Zhou Qin, and slowly hung the grass carp on the nail by the door. I turned to Jiang Jianqi and said, Dad, Grandpa loved reading the machinery newspaper when he was alive. I learned a little bit from him. After I went to the countryside, I found that the machines in the town's factories were old. So I wrote an improvement plan and submitted it. I didn't expect that Director Wu thought it was feasible and let me try it. Comrade Liu was sent by the factory to assist me. Lu Zheng raised an eyebrow in agreement. His military bearing and imposing aura made Zhou Qin, who wanted to throw a tantrum, swallow his words. Wanji, what about your sister? Jiang Jian's face flushed red, and he stammered as he pointed to the door. I'm also very sad that my sister is not doing well. I sighed, but my eyes were as cold as ice. But she insisted on changing the list back then, saying that the Northwest was too far away and the South was too hard, and she insisted on grabbing the good fortune of being officially employed. Dad, you agreed to it back then. This one sentence effectively silenced all of Jiang Jian's accusations. Jiang Wanlu broke down. She rushed at me, trying to scratch my face. Jiang Wanji, you liar. You deliberately made me switch them. You knew there would be gold bars. You knew the Shin family was a pit of fire. Wanlu, you need evidence to back up your words. I dodged to the side, but Lu Zheng grabbed her wrist, causing her to double over in pain. What gold bars? If you mean the money from selling the mahogany furniture, that was my mother's inheritance. As for the Shin family, Comrade Shin Yueming is a progressive young man. Didn't you always say you were attracted to his talent? Enough. Stop making a fool of yourself here. Jiang Jianqi finally snapped. He slapped Jiang Wanlu across the face, not out of pity, but because he realized his eldest daughter was now a capable person. Even the factory director in town had to give her face. At this critical juncture, he had to maintain his relationship with me. Perhaps he could return to the city in the future and count on me for help. Wanji, don't pay attention to her. She's obsessed. Jiang Jianqi put on a fawning smile. Now that you're successful, see if you can talk to the factory and transfer your sister over here too. She's suffering too much over there. Looking at his calculating face, the last trace of blood ties in my heart was completely severed. Dad, the commune has its own rules. The list was decided by the Educated Youth Office. I'm just a technician. How could I have that much power? I gently pushed open the door. It's getting late. Since you've come to visit, you should go back to the guest house early. Comrade Liu, please see them off for me. Lu Zheng took a long stride and made a please gesture. His posture clearly indicated an expulsion that brooked no refusal. The Jiang family of three disappeared into the twilight in a disheveled state. A month later, the news of the resumption of the college entrance examination struck like a thunderbolt, shattering the silence that had gripped the land for 10 years. Using the funds at my disposal and Lu Zheng's connections, I not only successfully took over the silk reeling factory, but also managed to obtain the first batch of review materials in advance through various channels. When Jiang Wanlu heard the news, she was being locked in the woodshed to reflect on her actions because the Shin family suspected her of stealing money to buy face cream. She wanted to take the exam, but realized that she had been so busy arguing with her in-laws for the past few years that her knowledge had become stagnant. Meanwhile, Shin Yueming, for his meager salary, had to continue working hard at the quarry and had no chance to study. In the winter of 1977, I calmly walked into the examination room wearing the cashmere coat that Lu Zheng had brought back from Shanghai. On the day the results came out, I became the top science student in the entire province. The day I left Zhao family village. The whole village came to see me off. Village Chief Zhao held my hand and said earnestly, "Little Jiang, when you become successful in the future, don't forget to come back and visit." I smiled and handed him the factory share agreement. "Uncle, this factory will belong to the village from now on. Lu Zheng will stay and help you manage it. The annual dividends will be enough for the villagers to eat fine grains." Behind the crowd, a ragged figure huddled in the shadows. That's Jiang Wanlu. She watched me being surrounded by the crowd, watched Lu Zheng's jeep stop in front of me, watched me disappear completely from her world like a dazzling pearl. She finally understood that the transfer order she had stolen was just an empty shell. True destiny is never something that can be changed by stealing a man or a place, but rather by the inner strength hidden deep within the dry well of the old house, and the wisdom to proceed cautiously in the face of dire straits. The car started. I glanced back at the ancestral home. I have gradually converted the 3 boxes of gold bars into capital through various legal channels. I donated 2 of the boxes to the country anonymously under the name of an overseas Chinese for scientific research and development. The remaining box will be my first ballast in my battles in the business world. "What are you thinking about?" Lu Zheng asked as he drove. "Thinking about the future." I leaned back in my seat, looking out at the fields rushing past the window. To Shanghai, to the special economic zone, to that era that truly belongs to me. The grudges from the past life have completely dissipated with the misty rain of Jiangnan. But my story has only just begun. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you.